Okay, we are live. Professors, I apologize. It is book parade, so that is why I look like this. Hey, team. So we are going to talk about the second part of today's information. So at the staff meeting, we did rapport. And in that faculty meeting, we did not have time to get to this video. So I do want to show this video, and then we'll go on to the second.
This is called How Do I Know? And a lot of times when people hear the phrase, how do I know? The next thing they say is what? How do I know what? The key really isn't to know what. The key is to know why. Because when you know your why, you have options on what your what can be. For instance, my why is to inspire people to walk in purpose. My what is stand-up comedy. My what is writing books. My what can be going out with some friends to eat. In fact, another what that has moved me towards my why is a web series that we have out now called Break Time. So every Wednesday at 3 o'clock, you should subscribe to the channel. We do a series called Break Time on YouTube. So 3 o'clock, we drop a new episode. One episode in particular, I'm about to show you a clip to. We're in Winston-Salem. So Break Time, this is how it works. I travel the country, I do stand-up comedy, probably an hour and a half at an event. And in the middle of my show, I'll just sit down and start talking to the audience. And funny things happens. Or I'll meet somebody who's really interesting. So I met this one guy, and he said that he teaches music at a school. I was like, all right, I can teach music, can you sing? And then I'm just gonna show you the clip. Check it. So your musical director. Yes, sir. All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Wow, that bro could sing. You know what I'm saying? Now, let's give it a version. Is if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick. If you know what I'm talking about, just see if that exists. That's what you got. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Yeah, I'll stop it there. The only difference between the first time he sang it and the second time he sang it was he said, essentially, tell me your why behind it. So this goes all the way back to our faculty meeting and building that rapport with your kids and remembering your why. So the first time that I saw that video was when I was teaching in Searcy, Arkansas, and the school had just beat its way out from a C to a B. And they were previously a D. So they had gone like 5 years before I had gotten there, maybe 3 years. They were at a D. They got all the way up to a B, and it took them a while to get there. But they were celebrating, and so the principal was asking us, what is your why for teaching? So going back to the faculty meeting, on your sticky note, I want you to write. We're going to do a little 3, 2, 1. So on your sticky note, we were talking about rapport with our kids. So I want you to write down 3 kiddos' names on your sticky note that you are trying to target this year. Someone who, maybe it's just a quiet kid who gets overlooked. Maybe it is the really high kid in your class that also gets overlooked because we're so focused on the little ones or the lower ones. Or maybe it's A kiddo that is just that kid in your class. So if you'll take a second, write down 3 names. Is Romo 2 white corn? Okay. I didn't get 1, but I did.
3 teachers.
Yes. And then since I am being recorded, please don't share any student names, but if you'd like to share initials, let's have at least 2 people share who you chose and your why for choosing them.
I chose an M for my program just because he's the quiet one that's easily overlooked.
Yep.
And always on task.
I had an M in 2nd grade, and yes, I very much agree with that. Anyone else have a second one that you'd like to share? Initials only, though.
DG and your horn just because of attitude and doesn't feel appreciated.
Yeah.
Yep, she didn't let us too.
Yeah, and that's neat how we within our team have some connections because those are kids that immediately came up on my list too. So just remembering your why and why am I targeting them? And all of that goes into rigor, which we've been talking about in PLC. And not to beat a dead horse, but I just want to continue talking about some more strategy. So with rigor, we have, of course, the all famous Bloom's taxonomy, which is how we're going to target those critical thinking skills. It, of course, lends itself towards short and extended constructive responses. So for our ELAR teachers, I have an example for you later with constructive responses, and maybe it's an activity that they're going to carry over into this year. Scaffolding to get students away from the spoon-fed information, and that is a weakness of mine. I just want to feed. And then when they go to take the test, they have no idea how to do it independently. So teaching them how to, okay, here's the getting away from just like, oh, here, let me give you one more hint, and just actually saying, okay, now you're going to have to try. Something I've been trying this year is introducing the word, it's going to slip my mind now. Productive struggle. So we've said that word a lot of times in my class this year, productive struggle. You're going to have to struggle with the information, and then you'll have a light bulb moment. And I had a kiddo, she couldn't remember the name of the word productive struggle. Yes, I'm still there. Stay on the calls. Don't stop recording. She said, Miss Borchardt, that word, like we're having a hard time. I struggle. And I said, yeah, productive struggle. She said, yeah, I'm having one of those right now. And she said, but I know I'm going to get past it because you said we would.
And it starts with us. Sometimes we forget that we have the productive, we want to do it our way
Yes,
instead of challenging ourselves.
exactly. If we can't do it as teachers and finding a different way to teach that content, then the kids will continue to struggle because we also have to do that. There's different ways to change the rigor in the classroom. You have content. Are you ready for more? The process, abstract versus concrete. And so for math, the most simple explanation, I'm just trying to make sure I can be seen. The most simple explanation would be going from those manipulatives to, okay, now do it without the manipulatives. And then your process or your product, which is what are you going to do to show mastery, which Saucedo is the bomb.com at this one because she does those PBLs. And so how can you get those higher kids who maybe would otherwise be bored to have more rigorous assignments? So 4 ways to develop rigor in the classroom. I loved this picture because it supported what I said at the faculty meeting. It had relationships as your number 1. You can't get to the rigor unless you have the relationships. So relationships, and then of course differentiation, expectation, and options. Number 2, when I think of differentiation, those are that's something we all as teachers know that we have to do, but yet it's hard to actually differentiate other than, oh, I'm going to type it in my Canvas page and okay, my differentiation is done. So on your sticky note, I want you to write down 2 different ways that you could differentiate classroom instruction and something that you will actually implement, because I know I have been guilty of, oh, I put it in my Canvas page, but then I don't tell the kids to go back to it, or I don't actually go back and differentiate the instruction. So 2 things that you're doing to do that. anyone has an example, we'll take 2 examples of differentiation tactics that we want to actually implement.
Oh, for me, I think stations in a way that I've been differentiating like it. And it's really like, it lends itself to do it easily because our students are already leveled. And so with my high group, I can go up. I can definitely ask them what I know 5th grade is gonna show or what 5th grade might expect them. So
Right.
I can't go up because everybody at my table is at that place. And then
Yes.
also for my love students, I can take it back a step and say, okay, let's make sure that we mastered whatever was in 3rd grade, move up to 4th grade. And sometimes it does lend itself to like, okay, I can push you even more to do that. So station 7.
And I have liked that too with my stations, because I have actually introduced some 5th grade content to my higher group, because otherwise they're just bored out of their minds.
Yes.
So yes, I have loved that part of stations. Anyone else?
Vertical PLCs be an option.
Yes, I think all of us, we're all laughing. We all want vertical PLCs. I think it's just a matter of scheduling and how can we, because I know like already today I had a moment of, hey, this is how I teach. I want the kiddos to do the tic-tac-toe method for multiplication. And I don't know if the 3rd grade teacher is doing that. I know last year the 3rd grade teacher did, but I don't know if this year's 3rd grade math teacher is. So having those vertical PLCs, it would almost have to be before or after school, I would think. I don't know. But I think that would be one way to
There's a lot of
actually,
value in that with the
Yeah.
benefit.
for sure.
Yeah.
Because then we can, I think once we get, especially in ELAR, if we can get them using the same strategies from first all the way up, then it'll be like rubies and like our UPS.
Even the expectation of capital letter period, because
Yes.
that skill should be mastered already by the time they come to 4th grade, and it's not.
Yes.
And I feel like it's very easy to say, oh, okay, they turned in the sentence and not hold them accountable to
Yes.
actually have it all the time.
And doing that in math, the kids always say, but Miss Borchardt, you're not my writing teacher. And I say, if you're writing a question for me, you are putting the question mark.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, that translates across all content. I already changed the slide. So increasing rigor. I have some more resources. Some of these are things you've seen, but just I need refreshers, so maybe y'all do too. Rigorous questions and tasks can be open-ended, and making sure that we're asking those open-ended questions and have several possible responses, which goes back to what Ms. Ramos was saying about like the UPS, not telling them the answer, even though those questions don't necessarily have multiple answers, letting them have a different way of getting to the correct answer.
And that's hard too, even in what y'all do with reading, front-loading vocabulary, and math not supposed to.
Yes.
That's a shift already for math and science people, because we all as teachers want to front-load everything.
Teach it all, and then,
It's hard.
it is. And higher level questions, students, and activities. So I went through my abyss of email and found this resource from Dr. Alvarado, and that she shared last year for ELAR. So I did go ahead and link it. And it just has your upper level questions, your Bloom's taxonomy, and then all kinds of support and sentence stems and skills they should be able to demonstrate. And then of course those verbs. So I linked that for y'all. And then there's also a rigor rubric where, so I had an opportunity to observe a 5th grade teacher, and I observed with Mr. Gideon. And what we talked about was how that teacher could improve was, well, they're 5th graders. Don't just tell them you need to have 1, 2, 3. Give them that rubric and let them figure out, oh, I have to do this in order to get there. And we're 4th grade. So that's something that will also allow us to differentiate the classroom, is giving them a rubric. So that I gave one example. Of course, it would have to change per task. But that is one example. Y'all are all too familiar with this chart, and we just got it in the last PLC. And I posted it on my teacher table so that I have it right there, where I can quickly go back and remind myself. And I've also thought about writing it on sentence stems. We talked about that too, and posting it at the back of the room so that I can constantly be thinking, okay, how do I get from here to here? Because especially in math, if I'm not quite careful, I'm going to be up here.
instead of in the higher level.
And then I gave a few, making sure it's still recording. Y'all can tell I have some fear there. So I have a few examples. I know obviously we're fourth grade, but I think the examples are good because we may not always be fourth grade. I came from second, so just being aware of all grade levels, and also for those of us who will be teaching Saturday school, you might not have fourth graders. So like a second grade, how might this story be different if the pout pout fish did not find the kiss kiss fish at the end of the story? Third grade math, why can I multiply 7 by 6 and 6 by 7 to get the same number? And that kind of goes to those properties. And of course, how does multiplying by the same numerator and denominator affect the original fraction? Going back to that, we're multiplying by 1 over 1. It's one whole. It doesn't change the fraction, that identity property. In science, how do the living and non-living components in an ecosystem support the other elements? So just giving those more open-ended questions. Moving on, student-led questioning. So it's the same thing, but I had this grand idea, and I'm going to try it. I haven't tried it yet. I want to print this chart for my class and give it to the kids, and then give them an opportunity to make higher-level questions. I haven't tried it yet. But that's something that I've been kind of thinking that might be neat, and then creating an exit ticket using those student-generated questions. Because sometimes I'll be guilty of, okay, I'm going to let y'all lead the learning, and then it stops there. But I think if I can actually let them create some questions and then use it, I think they will be pumped. And I can even say like authored by or written by and include the student's name. I think they would really enjoy that.
I've done the whole like creating your own Kahoot.
Yes.
So they love,
that's cool.
they do love creating their own little quizzes for each other. But I've never given them the levels of sentence. So that would be even upping that more. So I like that.
And your new creation station, Paula's, is gonna do this too. And I already shared that
Okay.
with her, so y'all can give her information on what you're studying, so
Okay.
she can extend that. Because that's part of her job now,
So
is to get the.
she could do that in Creation Station, and then we can say, okay, collect, and we'll make them.
And we can
And
play
she's gonna
them.
do it. I wrote a song. Y'all know the song, Teach Me How to Dougie?
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah.
Please.
She always laughs at me, but she's gonna do the song, teach me how to question, teach me how to question. They're gonna use it in there to develop questions, because that was the
Okay.
whole goal, was to support Tel Possum across the board. teach
So
them
then
how to speak
I'll
and think.
share this with her, and we can get
Yes.
that rolling. The only thing that I was thinking of, every time y'all's computer dings, I'm like, is it recording? How can we adapt this for pre-K first grade? I've been trying to think of that. So if y'all think of something, let me know. Because clearly they can't, at this point in time, use these exact question stems. I was trying to think of like obviously pictures, but I don't know how to make a picture for the word why. So just if y'all
Something
happen
to think
of an
about?
idea, yeah, just something to think about. So some questioning tips. I did go ahead and link. I know we all really liked the presentation for Dr. Walker. So I emailed her and I got it for us. So I linked that for us. Writing down, of course, those higher order questions before you teach, reading the math talk before you start the lesson, and putting the sticky notes in the book before. And then I have something about Kagan. And so Kagan structures, if y'all have ever attended a Kagan training, they also recommend putting the Kagan structures at the back of the room. So like, put a round robin, a poster that says round robin. So that way, as you're teaching, instead of always saying, turn and talk, turn and talk, turn and talk, turn and talk with a friend,
Yeah.
turn and talk again, putting the different structures so you can be like, let's round robin this one. Let's do think, pair, share. Let's do rally robin. Let's do, and putting all the different ones, because I get tired of saying, and turn and talk with your elbow partner. Turn and talk with your face
Have y'all
partner.
done the Socratic seminar?
Oh, I've heard of that in my high school English class, but I don't think
You
we ever.
decide you wanna do it, I'll help you.
I'm
It's-
down.
It's killer on communication.
Okay, Socratic seminar.
Maybe
So
we
we'll
can
have to
put
add
it
that
during
here.
the PLC.
Yeah,
You got it?
yeah, put it down on our agenda. And then, of course, in STEM Scope, expand, and I think you probably already know this, but in the Explorer, you can find the printable math talks there. Okay. going on. The depth of knowledge, I did want to remind science and math that STEMscopes does have a depth of knowledge chart and that DOK, which is very similar to Bloom's, but like Dr. Walker said, 1 and 2 is the lower level, 3 and 4, I guess I should say 1 and 2 is lower level, 3 and 4 is that upper level. So if you want to see, oh, how are these tasks and STEMscopes broken out, I've told you how to get there. I won't go through it because y'all are capable of reading. Some more examples. So I went through the guiding documents and chose specific examples from their content. So kindergarten, how might school be different if everyone had a case of cattle tongue? That's really cute. First grade science. Now, obviously, it's a first grade question, but you can still use this strategy with any of our content. Cover it up. So giving them the question, and instead of giving them all the answer choices, covering up the answer choices, and then having them create the answer choices. Second grade. Oh, wait, then I skipped second grade. So I went straight to third grade. Third grade, so Mrs. McDormand loves to do this one. She'll tell the kids, okay, so a teacher and I were at a faculty meeting and we were talking about this question and I said that the answer was C and the other teacher didn't agree with me. So prove me wrong. And she just convinces these kids that she is so right. And the kids have to tell her why she's not right. And so having them justify that answer and having, you have to really sell it though, and convince them that you really believe that you are right. Second grade reading, there's my second grade example. So this was a slide that I snipped from when I was in second grade. And I liked it because we would always have, okay, there's the skill, text-to-text connection. So there's our question. How is Mr. Fee-Fi-Bo-Bum, like the giant, now this is during virtual learning, so it had to be formatted a certain way, but gave the text. And then next little talk, we would always have the little, here's your sentence stem. Mr. Fee-Fi-Bo-Bum is like the giant because blank. I know this because the text says blank. So sometimes we would put the mouth and they would have to talk about it in virtual learning. And then sometimes we would put the little pencil and they would have to type their answer. And we did that on Pear Deck, or during virtual, we would have them type in the chat. And so I liked that because we had them practice both speaking and writing. And then we always would include a challenge. What does this connection help you predict? Because some kids, your higher kids, can automatically use that sentence stem. Okay, they don't really need it. But then giving them that challenge prevents behavioral problems when you have them thinking about something else. Fourth grade math, I just snipped a recent problem that we did, and I really liked it because you have to really think about. So it's the depth of knowledge 3 according to STEMscopes. It gives the 3 different problems, 3 different examples, and each kid's way of solving. And then, of course, you have to figure out who is right, who is wrong, and why. Fourth grade reading. So here's the example that I used last year. And again, I linked Dr. Alvarado's presentation in case, I don't know if she shared it with y'all, so I got it from her and linked it for y'all. And analyze the constructive response answers. So on one of our tests last year, this was the constructive response. So I snipped it, and then I went through and I chose tons of different answers, and I believe I included it on here. So if I didn't, then let me know. But I think I also linked it. It might be linked there, actually. And so I snipped all my kids' answers, and then I gave them the rubric that I used to grade, and I had them grade it. And we talked about, oh, why was this a 3 versus a 2 versus a 1? And what could they have done better? Oh, this one was the highest rating, but how could we fix this? Because, oh, that one wrote a lot, but, oh, do you see any periods? So we analyzed them, and they really got a kick out of that. And then they had to rewrite theirs. And so that's something I know y'all are really hitting constructive responses this year. So that's something y'all can do. And that brings me to the reports section, but we've already reviewed data as a team. So I'm going to stop there. And then on your 1, so on your sticky note, we did 3 people we wanted to target. We did 2 differentiation strategies, and then 1 thing on your sticky note, 1 thing that you took away from this that you want to change in your classroom. And that'll be it. I'll take 2 answers shared out once you had time.
I immediately wrote down the rubrics because I haven't done that. I've done like the student-led questioning, and that's normal. That was my go-to when I taught math was, like, here's a picture on the board or something. This person's gonna create the question, the rest of the students are gonna
Oh, that's
answer.
I like that.
But I like incorporating the rubric with that too, or with, like longer assignments.
Yeah. Anyone else want to share?
Having the cake and posters, because my goodness, we try and talk to our buddies all the time.
We turn to talk a lot, don't we? Yes.
Yeah. And I also know that just helps because sometimes I forget there's more.
Yes.
There's more than
There's
just-
more than just turn and talk.
Turn
It's
and
just
talk,
hard in the
yeah.
moment to think of
Yeah.
anything other than turn and talk.
And I think that will help with also the level of questions. Like once you have something, then you can also it's more plan, more purpose.
Exactly. Well, thank y'all for for writing me in on your PLC agenda. And that is it. Goodbye, my
Good job.
professors.
Very good.
We are going live. Okay, it says it's recording, so hopefully it is. Okay, so I'm going to talk with y'all about rapport. I will show you a funny picture of Mr. Gideon just because it makes me laugh every time. I'm sure y'all have already seen it. So the reality of the situation with us teachers and with our PLC paras, who we adore, we love you all. I was teaching a math class the other day, a small group, and we were doing some fractions. And the fraction was I needed them to do 1/1, so 1 whole. So I said, okay, draw your big cookie cake. You have one big piece, and you're going to eat one big piece. And so I'm modeling it. And I said, okay, now draw that picture for me. I've already modeled it. We've talked about it. I wrote the fraction, and my little girl drew one piece like that. And I was like, okay, back to square one. That is not where we are. So we know we're behind academically. And I know y'all may not get to see that quite as much in y'all's roles, but they are behind academically. So there's major math deficits. The office referrals, I know y'all are aware of office referrals because of the amount of discipline issues that y'all see, even if y'all aren't part of actually doing the referrals. I know in my classroom alone, I've done at least 8 to 10 this year. That is more than I've done this is my 5th year teaching. I had never done 8 to 10 in my first 4 years. So it has been a lot. According to Ms. Jackson, there were 41 office referrals from the first day of school until October 26th. And I know I submitted another one yesterday. So just they're all abundant. Reading Academy, I know y'all don't have to do the Reading Academy, but the teachers are doing 60 hours of an additional reading instruction. It's a college level course. There's major reading deficits. The amount of paperwork and testing that we're currently doing, we have months. So kids that are getting referred today will not be tested until spring and would not be placed until next fall. So the amount of backup, it's a long process, and there's so many of them that are needed. And then, of course, coverage, the one y'all are most familiar with. We don't have enough coverage, and y'all get the sheer grunt force of that because y'all are our go-tos. When we don't have a teacher show up, oh, let's put the PLC paras in there. And I can see off of reading your faces, how does that feel? Not great, right? Because that's not your role. Your role is to cover different teachers while we're able to do PLCs. Y'all help with right. So it's a lot different when you walk in the doors and, oh, I'm so sorry, but today you're going to have to, I know that is a struggle. And sometimes I'm sure there aren't sub-plans for you. So
yeah, that's the most problem is sometimes like they just throw you in there. Like me, this is my first year, so half the time I'm like,
what do I do today? How do I enter?
So I'm always like, Miss Garcia, what do I make them do? And she'll tell me, just make them do this and this and this.
Yes, and that's hard. So the reality of the situation is we have a lot. That's funny. I don't know what that song was. Sounded like a kid's toy. So something in grad school that I've looked a little bit at is this Hattie's effect sizes. And professors who are watching this video, our technology is not working today, so you're just getting to see me go off of 2 devices. So Hattie's effect sizes is essentially a scientific study where they took all of these different factors
And they said, okay, how effective are these factors in the classroom? And then, of course, there are some red factors where holding students back, corporal punishment, moving between schools, depression, all of those are going to negatively affect the kids. But then they're seeing, okay, distance education, anything below 0.4, they call 0.4 the hinge point, meaning anything below 0.4, pretty much not going to make a huge difference in the child's education. But the number one thing on this list with the highest hinge point was collective teacher efficacy. So I'm going to define that because if you're like me, you need a definition. Collective teacher efficacy is the combined belief in a school that you can have an impact on student outcomes, that you, as a paraprofessional, can actually impact outcomes. And I know that's a different thing when y'all are getting pulled every which way, and you're like, oh, I'm only with the kids for 45 minutes, but you have a huge role. There was a post on Twitter the other day that I loved. I hate it when I hear any one of y'all or any one of the pre-K paras or any one of the subs say, oh, I'm just a para. You're not just a para. We truly can't do what we do if we don't have y'all. And y'all know that from the coverage. Self-fulfilling prophecy is that idea that if the kids don't think that they can do it, they will never be able to do it. But it also goes with the teachers. So if a teacher doesn't believe in the kids will never get there. Even if, obviously, I'm not going to tell a kid, oh, I don't think you're going to pass the STAR this year. But they can pick up on that, even if I don't ever verbally say it. They know if I believe that they can pass it or not. And my mom has been an educator. Yes, I'm still in the call. Keep recording. My mom has been an educator for over 20 years, and she, in every classroom, posts this poster. Well, it's not this one. It's an older version of it. But attitude determines altitude. What you think about the day, what you think about your kids is going to determine how far and how high you can go. So a famous Rita Pearson quote, every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can be. In her famous TED Talk, these are a few of the quotes. No significant learning can occur without significant relationship. I think that's key because y'all see all grade levels for 45 minutes. And I know from speaking with my para, my kids are awful to Miss Bautista every day. And we've been working on that. And so I wanted to speak with y'all, one for the grad assignment, but also because I know that if y'all can help build those relationships, I think your life will be easier. And I know y'all probably already know that, but just reminding yourself, build those relationships because it will get better. All learning is understanding relationships. Kids don't learn from people they don't like. I know as an adult, if I don't like you, I'm probably not going to listen to you as much as I would as someone who I respect. Tell a kid you're sorry, they're in shock. I had a kid the other day, I snapped at him and I didn't say anything mean. It was just the tone of voice that I used. And so I immediately stopped and I said, I'm so sorry. You did not deserve that tone of voice. I'm frustrated because of this and I should not have said it like that to you. And his face was like, a teacher just said sorry to me? Yes, because I'm a human and you're a human and you deserve my respect. If I'm going to request the kids be respectful to me, then I better show them respect because if I don't, they'll come for you. Something Rita Pearson tells her class every year. She says, you are chosen to be in my class because I am the best teacher and you are the best students to show others how to do it. So just instilling in them that belief of how amazing they are. And something she has them quote back to her every day. She would say, make the kids say, I am somebody, I am powerful, and I am strong. I deserve the education that I get here, and I have things to do, people to impress, and places to go. She says if you say it long enough, they'll start to, I'll start to believe it, and they'll start to do those things. Putting a +2 when you're grading stuff. I know y'all don't necessarily take part in grading, but I've had kids make a 0 and 10s and 13s on papers, and I try to say, +2. You got 2 right. You didn't get them all wrong. And because that's something Rita Person does, and helping them believe that they are capable. Some thought leaders that I have studied in grad school, really incredible people. I included links to all of their presentations at the end of this. Michelle Rhee says the teacher quality is the factor that has the most impact on student achievement levels. So scientific studies have shown that if a child gets 4 highly effective teachers in a row, then that's going to make the difference between how far they go in life, essentially. 4 effective teachers is all it takes. And I say that, I know y'all are paras, y'all support what we do every single day, but also some of you have kids of your own, and advocating for your own kids. Like, I want the most effective teachers. I want the ones that are going to make a difference in my kid's life. What does it take to educate the children you serve? To answer the question, you have to actually know something about the children you serve, which I know is difficult because y'all have so many of them. But I think if y'all, and I'm going to show you some tactics in just a little bit, if you can get to know some of the kids, and I'm thinking of the ones in our class, some of the ones that scream and make the sounds and who are disrespectful to you in the cafeteria, and the ones who throw things in the cafeteria, the ones who steal food out of the other. And I'm saying all of these are examples from my class, and y'all know, right? Right, exactly. Exactly.
So they're gonna get it from here.
They're wanting the attention, and they don't know how to get it appropriately. And that's what I always have to tell myself, because if y'all have interacted with my class this year, you know, it's a rough class. It's a pretty rough class. But also, and I'm not able to legally tell you all the backgrounds, but if you knew all the backgrounds of all the kids,
Makes more sense.
it makes a lot more sense. So I'm able to, not every day, but I try to take a deep breath in. Okay, how am I going to speak to you today to make a difference in your education tomorrow, and to make a difference in where you are or are not in 5 or 10 years? And the best teachers don't expect students to learn the way they teach. Resilience is the byproduct of confidence and competence. Inconsistency in how we do things undermines the children. And that's something I hit on big. If you respect me in my classroom, you will respect Miss Bautista. You will respect Miss Castillo and Miss Proctor and Miss Reyes and all the others. You will respect every single Encore teacher, every single PLC person, because if inconsistency really does undermine everything. And then relationships are at the core of building successful schools. These quotes all came from a huge slew of people, and they're all going back to that relationships factor. So I won't make y'all do this because it is 8:18 in the morning and I don't want to make you mad at me. But I would like to do some good things. So this is normally in my classroom, I would put on a happy song and we dance around and da-da-da-da. I won't make y'all do that because you're adults. But I would like to hear some good things from y'all. So normally in my classroom, I put on a 3-minute timer. This is something y'all could do during PLC. I know the teachers sometimes leave assignments, but often it's like, oh, get on iStation, get on coding. Well, you can take 3 minutes, I'm sure, to do some good things and to get to know those kids. So tell me something good, anything good from your personal, professional, whatever lives. I can go first. For Halloween, my daughter, so I have a niece named Willa, and Willa has cute, really blonde, curly hair. So, of course, we had to make her Little Bo Peep. And I have a 4-month-old and my sister has an 8-month-old. So we made them Little Bo Peep and her sheep. So I have some pretty cute pictures. Did we run into a wolf during Halloween? Yes. And we jokingly said, oh, the wolf's going to eat your sheep. I might have made her cry. But there's the little sheep. So this is Addie, that's mine. And then this is Scotty, my sister's. They are chunks. I use cotton balls, hot mess. They are all over our neighborhood. And we tried to pick them all up. And then here's Little Bo Peep. That's my good
Oh my
thing.
God.
That's what I go to. Well, I don't go home to my nieces every day, but I go home to my daughter every day. And that's what I look for every day now. So what are some good things from y'all?
Well, I try and start my day every day with a positive. I get up, a couple hours earlier and I do my Bible study, do my
I
personal
love that.
development, my workout. And then, so if I'm set straight, then I can come and give myself in a positive manner.
Exactly.
And then at the school I came from, we really focus on relational practices.
Mhm.
And I did this yesterday. I always carry something with me in here. So I did a circle up with the class I was
Cool.
with. And then I did a get to know you. Before I left the school I was at, I asked all of my classes what they want to know, what I should tell the kids
Mhm.
at my new school. And so I made the list at every single class. And so at the grade level I was at, so I was in second grade yesterday. So I pulled my second grade list. This is what the second graders at the other school in your district wants to know. Want you to know about them or about me.
I love that.
And then, so I went through that and then I wrote a list. So they got to know like my favorite color, if I have a dog or a cat,
Mhm.
Things like that.
Yeah, that's what we do at the beginning of the year. We do
Yes.
all about me, write your name, your favorite color.
Yeah, we do
We're
that.
trying to get to know them at the beginning of the
Yes.
year. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, this is the beginning of the year for
But I
me.
think we should do that in the middle too, because
Mhm.
they seem
Because
to
they lose
forget.
it. They
Like-
lose it and they forget. I had
Yeah.
You're still a kid. You don't have to
Yes.
be this
Right.
grown up.
Right.
Like,
I
you're
had
a
it
kid.
was
Stop.
probably the
Follower.
saddest moment I've experienced yet. One of the sped paras was in my classroom and they had been disrespectful to her. So I stopped the class before I left and I said, "How many adults are in this room?" And I went and stood next to her and they said 1. And I said, "Let's re-answer that." And a lot of them still said 1 the second time. And I said, No. There are 2 adults. I may be the teacher. The sped pair is older than me. And they, for whatever reason, they don't have that same level. And I think going back to this relational piece, I take a lot of time at the beginning of the year to build relationships with the kids. And I know y'all have so many classes, so y'all do it right there at the beginning. That's why I like the good things, because I do it every week. Every Monday, I say, "Hey, tell me something good. Tell me about your weekend." We have to review what is a good thing versus a bad thing, but it's a relational piece that can keep going. I'm not saying it'll fix the respect. That's something I think all the teachers have to really support y'all in. But continuing to build those relationship pieces. I'm going to go a little bit faster because I told Mr. Gideon I would come back to my class in 7 minutes. So I'm going to go relieve him
Yeah,
from
we
the.
gotta leave it at 8:26.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Well, I'll get it done then. So making a difference with students and families. So good things is one thing. The 2x10 method. So this is a method where you choose a student and for 2 minutes every day for 10 days, you just talk to that kiddo. What's your favorite ice cream color? Tell me about your weekend. Y'all are in classrooms all the time. So you could do that with every single grade level. Choose one kid and for 10 days, so 2 weeks at a time. And then every 2 weeks it changes. And getting to build those relationships, I would start with the hardest of the hard. Because as soon as you have that relationship with those kids, the first day I came back from maternity leave, I scanned the room and I said, "Oh, you, and you need my time and my attention, and I need to be best friends with you," or make them think that I'm their best friend, so that I could build those relationships and stay on top of it. Playing with the students. So Saucedo recommended that. I race them at recess. I know y'all can't necessarily spend a lot of time doing that during PLC, but taking 5 minutes every once in a while. Yes.
Yeah,
Do a little bit.
Yeah, I love things like that helps the kids. Oh, it's okay to be a kid. It's okay to have some fun. And it builds their relationships with y'all. Community circles, taking time to let the kids sit and talk. A secret student is what Ms. Hicks does. So she says, "Okay, I have a secret student in my head, and if they're really good at the end of class, then she'll give them a dum-dum or some other piece of candy." Y'all could easily do that to help with behavior. And that's something I know every teacher controls and does discipline differently, but secret student, you don't have to have Castleberry Cash. You don't have to have any of those fancy things. You can just choose a kid and say, oh, I'm watching the secret student. The secret student is really doing a good job. Oh, not doing so great right now. That type of thing. Message a positive note to parents. So y'all don't necessarily have access to the parents, but what I do is I'll occasionally write notes. I take a minute or less per kid, and I'll write a note to a kid that I think needs it. Maybe it's a quiet kid. Maybe it's the shy kid. Maybe it's the GT kid who is bored out of their mind. Maybe it is the behavior kiddo. And if we had more time, I would have y'all do that right now, but we don't. So I'm going to keep going so we can get everyone where they're supposed to be. But leaving them unique encouragement notes is one thing that I like to do as frequently as I can, to just let them know I thank you and I love you. And I don't do like, you're awesome, have a good day. I make it like, hey, I noticed you did this. I make it really intentional, because if you leave a note that says you're awesome, I'm going to throw it away. I'm so, like, that's not encouraging. And leaving it an intentional note that will help. Okay, I'm going to really speed it up. We're not going to do the activity because we have to all get back to our things. Oh, it's going the opposite way. Things to avoid: power struggles. If you ever find yourself in a situation where the kid is arguing back with you, stop, take it in the hallway. You will never, ever win that. I've been there, done that. You will not win. If you get in a power struggle, you'll lose every single time. It says build a partnership based upon mutual respect. Humiliation and exclusion are not effective. If you are humiliating kids, and I know y'all don't do this, but just a good reminder for everyone, if you're saying things that embarrasses the kids, you're not going to be able to have that good rapport with them. Empty threats: mean what you say. Don't say, oh, I'm going to tell your teacher if you don't stop. Tell the teacher. Say, here's the name, write the name down, hand it to the teacher so that they can see.
I did that last week. This
Yes.
little boy, he thought I wasn't gonna call Mr. Vivian, and the first thing I did was,
Mhm. Yep.
can you come up here? Thank you.
Exactly. And I have had the empty threat of, oh, I'm going to call your mom if you don't stop, and then I don't call. And then the week that I did do it this year, I said, if you do not stop, I'm calling. Did it again, call mom. And that stopped it real fast. Yep,
You have to follow through.
You have to follow through. One of my friends said a quote from Facebook: my greatest takeaway is that at the end of those hard, challenging days, I am an adult and they are just kids. I'm the adult. No matter what they do, and my class, they're hard this year. They're very hard. But no matter what they do, I am the adult and I control the situation. And I have to tell myself that literally every single day, because it is hard. Just stay patient. One last thing, and then I promise I'll let you go. Making a difference with the staff. And we talked about all the things that make our jobs challenging. And I think a huge thing is the overall attitude of the staff. Some days I come here and the whole, oh, this is going to be a hard day. It's the day after Halloween. I get it. I do. I've been there. But remembering that what you're saying feeds into other people. If you're not uplifting other people, if the bad energy just makes, oh, if I'm having a bad day, I try really hard to not let people know when I'm having a bad day. I really do. Because it's not going to help them. It's only going to make them have a bad day and be grumpier with their kids. So just remembering those things. Okay. It's time for y'all to go.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.